Hey, what's up, folks? Welcome back to another session. We are on to a new chapter. We just finished chapter 6 last week, um, where it was focusing on basic switch management, going over the different functions that we can do to manage a switch. And so now we're moving on to chapter 7, which is called configuring and verifying switch interfaces, right? And so a couple of things that the chapter covers, right, is that within, of course, if you look at your syllabus, your outline for the exam, right, they're covering these three things under the network fundamentals section, right? 1.1, explain the role and functions of network components. 1.1.b, L2 and L3 switches, which means layer 2 and layer 3 switches. And of course, 1.4 describes switching concepts, right? And so, to keep it short and sweet, right? If you guys didn't know what it looks like, right? This is a switch, right? And so the switch comes with physical ports, right? And you can configure these ports, right? You can configure the speed of the port, right? You can configure the duplex, right? We'll go over duplex in the future. You can configure a description on that port, right? There's a couple other things. You can actually stop the port from working, right? Using the shutdown command. There's a lot of things that you can do. You know what I mean? So it's different, right? It's different. It's a lot of, we're jumping into the technical, so the technical side of learning about the CCNA. So pay attention. I'm going to try to hit all the points. If I miss something, I mean, you can shoot me a message. That's no problem at all. Let's go ahead and jump in it. So, right. So here's an example, right, of configuring speed, duplex, and description, and a description on an interface, right? Why would you want to do this, right? Well, theoretically, right, us configuring the speed on an interface is not actually changing the speed of an interface, right? We're just changing this, right, for a specific reason, right? Maybe it's to manipulate routing, right? If we're doing layer 3 functions on the switch, maybe it's to manipulate negotiations with ether channel, right? Layer 2 technology. Couple of things that we can do, right? But right, we want to just make sure that we know what we're doing. That's the biggest thing, right? We can go ahead and configure duplex, right? If it's running in half or full, right? Half being, right, it's waiting, right, to send data, right? It only can send data one way. It can't send data bidirectionally, right? Duplex being full, it can send it bidirectionally, right? And a description, right? Let's say Mykevia is, she's managing almost 100 switches, right? That's plugged into probably 100 servers, right? And she wants to make sure that she keeps track, right, of what's plugged into what, right? So that when Ryan comes in on a night shift, he can go ahead and say, oh, okay, for fast Ethernet 0/1, right? It's a printer that's connected to this port on the 3rd floor, right? And Mykevia preset it to speed of 100 and it's full duplex, right? So a couple of things you can do here, right? And of course, one other thing that you see on this screenshot that one of the commands that I'm going to have you guys practice, and we're going to do in the lab tomorrow for our lab fun day, is making configuration changes to a multiple number of interfaces, right? So we'll go over that tomorrow, right? I just want to touch on theory today, show you guys that you can configure a physical interface on a switch. Okay, so let's say you guys do the due diligence, you guys go ahead and make that change, right, on the switch. And this is continuing off of, again, the next slide is just continuing off of what's being configured here by Mykevia, right? So let's review, right? Mykevia edited and she made changes to fast Ethernet 0/1, but she also made changes, right, to interfaces, fast Ethernet 0/11 through 20, right? So if we go to the next slide, we see, right? We see her changes, right? We see that, right, on fast equal 0/1, her description is there, right, under the name, right? And we can see that she set the, duplex to full, right? So data is being sent bidirectionally, right? And she set it to a theoretical speed of 100, right? So she statically set that, right? And we can also see, starting at fast Ethernet 0/11, right, that description that she put, right, and you just connect here between fast Ethernet 0/11 through 20. We see it right here, right? So when Ryan comes in on the night shift, he'll see, okay, so starting at fast Ethernet 0/11, I can go ahead and start plugging in end users, right? When Ryan puts in that show interface status command, okay? So take note of that command. Plenty of things you can go ahead and verify after making those changes, okay? And these are a couple of things that you're going to need to do and may have to recognize on the CCNA exam, right? And so let me make sure I back up a little bit, right? So we saw, right? We saw that, in that last slide that it is possible, right, on Cisco iOS to make changes to multiple commands, right? And we saw it, right? Markivia started at fast Ethernet 0/11, did it all the way to 20, right? And if Ryan goes ahead and comes in on night shift and he runs a show running config, we can see that, oh, okay, I can see in the running config that 0/11, 0/12, and so on, they have the same description, right? And that matches up to the changes that Markivia made. Okay, so the interface range command, it's a very useful command if you have to make multiple changes to multiple interfaces rather than going one by one by one by one. That can be dreading. Okay, so one major thing, and I know this note says the book, but it actually applies to real life scenarios or what have you, right? And so even when you're typing in the command, and I'm sure you guys saw sometimes during Lab Fun Day, but I would shorten, right? I would shorthand some commands, what have you. So you can put in, right? You don't have to put interface and then fast Ethernet. If you can see, right? You see that last sentence. Markivia can actually put in INT, which means interface, and the switch would be able to understand what she means, right? Because there's only one output for that, and one thing it can resolve to, and she could put F 0/1, and the switch would know, oh, F 0/1, she means interface fast Ethernet 0/1, right? She can do the same with the range command. She can put interface INT and then RAN, right, for range, right? And then fast Ethernet 0/11 to 20, right? She can do that as well. So you can also do some shorthand. From myself, I would actually not recommend you guys to do shorthand just yet. I want you guys to go ahead and learn it. But yes, hopefully it makes sense to you. And in Lab Fun Day, you'll see how we can manipulate these physical interfaces. Let's go ahead and keep going. You guys seen it before. We, especially in this last lab that we did, that we are able to stop the physical port from working, right? Also the virtual ports, right? But right now we're talking about the physical ports. If Ryan came in at the night shift and for some reason, right, he just needed to shut down fast Ethernet 0/1, right? Maybe it's causing issues on the network. Maybe it's something going on with the interface. It's causing too many syslog messages to pop up. And Ryan says, hey, I just want to disable this interface. He can. Being the administrator, he can administratively control the interface state with shutdown, right? Putting the command shutdown in interface configuration mode, as you guys can see in the screenshot for switch 1, he will disable the actual interface. So layer 1 and layer 2 will be shut down, right? If he does, right, and we'll go over that in a few, if he wants to reverse that, there is a command to reverse him shutting that interface down, right? But we're not going to jump right into it. We're just going to focus on controlling the interface state with shutdown, right? So I know this is kind of hard to see, but continuing on with this example, right? We can display different information about an interface, right? I showed you guys the show interface status command, right? But what if, you guys have administrators, right? Let's say Ryan wanted to just look at interface fast Ethernet 0/1. He can put show interfaces, right? Fast Ethernet 0/1, and then status. He can get the output of just fast Ethernet 0/1, right? And see a brief breakdown of just the port, right? The description of the port under name, the status, right? If it's enabled, it's probably going to say connected, or disabled, which of course it says disabled, what VLAN it is, the duplex, right? The speed and the type, right? So you can do that with that command. Also, right, if he doesn't want the brief summary of the interface, right? He can actually look in detailed information. And of course, this is when you actually diving into a lot of this output, which of course would make sense later once you get through these books, right? That helps you with troubleshooting, right? Ryan can go ahead and put show interface faster than 0/1. He can see layer 1, layer 2 in detail. He can actually see the MAC address that's burned in, right? That's set to that physical interface of fast Ethernet 0/1, and so on. A lot of things that he can check to troubleshoot, right? That we'll get into in the future, right? But this is just showing how he can confirm that after he controlled the interface state with shutdown, he can verify if it's actually shut down layer 1 and layer 2 is disabled, okay? But let's say, Makivia calls him as being the manager, and she says, "Hey, you shut down the wrong interface," right? The Cisco developers made it a way to where we can go ahead and reverse any command that we put in, because of course we're human, we make mistakes, right? So, right, with any command that we configure, and we're specifically talking about shutdown for now as our example, Ryan can go ahead and put in no, and then the command that he put in previously to reverse the change that he made, right? And as you can see, right, we can also do that for other commands like speed, like description, right, like duplex, right? And so, right, we can use that no command to reverse the changes that we make, right, to the configuration, okay? All right. And as you can see in this example, of course, changes were made to interface faster than 0/2 that weren't supposed to be made. So Ryan went in, he put no speed, no duplex, no description, no shutdown. And of course, now when he do his show running config interface fast Ethernet 0/2, it no longer exists. Okay, let's keep going, right? And a quick note, right? The show running config and the show startup config commands typically do not display the default configuration settings. So the absence of commands listed under interface fast Ethernet 0/2 at the end of the example means that those commands now use default values, right? What does that mean? Because that was a lot of jumble and bumble, right? So if we look at the top of this, right? If you guys can see my mouse hover around, right? If we look at the show running config that was ran first, we see all the commands that was set on the interface, okay? If we move forward, we don't see any commands under the interface. This means the interface has been set to its default configuration, okay? As if you just pulled it out of the box, all right? So let's keep going. All right. And actually, we are at the end of our theory session today. And I actually made it a point to stop because we have more sections in this chapter that we're going to cover, right? Because we can go in depth talking about a physical interface. But I wanted to stop here because tomorrow I wanted to review some of the stuff that you guys probably seen and learn from me doing it in Lab Sunday, right? So we're going to stop here, right? Has a review, of course. You see the TCP/IP model versus the OSI model, right? We're still talking about, right, layer 2 and layer 1. We haven't moved up to layer 3 yet, right? So please keep that in mind, all right? You guys have a great day, and I'll see you tomorrow.